Ensure appropriate asset retention. Asset retention requirements based on several factors are asset type, asset age, legal and regulatory requirements. Considerations must be made to establish which types of information should be maintained and for how long. Regulations establish guidelines based on the category or sensitivity of the data. HIPAA requires healthcare organizations in the United States to maintain records for 6 years from the date of creation. PCI-DSS provides standards that handle credit card transactions. Organizations should limit cardholder data storage and retention time to that required for business, legal, and/or regulatory purposes. European Union law requiring data retention of Internet and telecommunication use by private citizens for a specified period of time. Data must be destroyed when it no longer meets the prerequisites for collection and storage. ISO 15489-1:2016, Information and Documentation Records Management. Part 1, Concepts and Principles defines the creation, capture and management of records. Department of Defense, DOD, Instruction 5015.02, DOD Records Management Program. Data Retention Policy Guidelines. Document purpose of the policy. Identify who is affected by the policy. Identify types of data and systems by the policy. Define key terms, especially legal and technical terminology. Describe detail requirements from legal, business, and personal perspectives. Outline the procedures for ensuring data is properly retained. Document exception process. List responsibilities of those involved in data retention activities. Build a table showing the information type and its corresponding retention period. Document the specific duties of data retention team. Retention of records. Records contain data that is a valuable asset to a business. Record have to be assessed and evaluated against the rights of the individual. Organization understands different record retention requirements. Record retention requirements are documented in a schedule. Records are maintained according to the schedule and not longer. Excessive retention increases risk of data exposure. Organization should have a periodic review of retained records. ISO/IEC 17799:2005. Information Technology Security Techniques Code of Practice for Information Security Management provide guidance on information handling and retention requirements over the life cycle. NIST Special Publication 800-53 Revision 4 Security and Privacy Controls for Federal Information Systems and Organizations provide guidance on information handling and retention requirements over the life cycle. Determining appropriate records retention. Just having information can be a liability. Data retention applies equally to the minimum and maximum period of time. Retaining data longer than necessary increases an organization's liability. Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI-DSS, requires that credit card data be retained for as short period of time as possible. Record retention schedule can include a date when personal data is no longer needed. Personal data is not retained any longer than is necessary. Retention of records in data life cycle. Retention of records in the life cycle of data is increasingly significant. Locating and protecting information in the numerous record storage areas for the organization is a challenge. Information security professionals design and implement a records management program to identify, maintain, and dispose of records in a safe, timely, and cost-effective manner. Hierarchical storage management, HSM, is effective record storage technique to support a secure lifecycle management process. Hierarchical storage management, HSM, automatically moves data between high-cost and low-cost storage media. High-speed storage devices like solid-state drive cost more than the slower storage hard disk drives, optical disks, and magnetic tape drives. High-speed storage is appropriate for frequent retrieval of records. Bulk of enterprise records do not have a requirement for rapid retrieval, so slower storage devices are appropriate. Archiving records is beneficial that must be maintained but are rarely used. If an archived record is needed, it is acceptable if retrieval is not immediate. Archiving systems are very cheap for record storage. Storage locations can be on-site or in the cloud. Records retention best practices. Label electronically maintained records. Create backup electronic file copies. Retain paper copies of records that cannot be completely transferred to the electronic system. Do not keep records longer than necessary. Make sure records have dates of origin, movement, and use. Remove unnecessary electronic records. Maintain information handling controls over lifecycle. Ensure that records remain accessible for the length of the time they are retained. Deduplicate records to avoid unnecessary storage of multiple copies that increase risk and storage costs. Use automated compression utilities and storage tier creation and management. Classify and retain emails that are official records. Ensure that records remain accessible for the required retention period by periodically converting and migrating records from media sources. Securely delete data in accordance with written retention periods and policies.